Some
Hello, and welcome to Viewfinders, which is the program where I interview creatives and photographers and people in the automotive space. And I've always said that it's not just photographers; it's all kinds of creatives. And my guest today, we are so lucky to have, is a presenter, a writer, a journalist. He is definitely a familiar face if you've watched or read auto content. You're all going to want a Morgan after this because I do now. Alex Goy, welcome.
How are you? Hi, I'm good. I'm on the tail end of the most bizarre week I think I've ever had professionally. It's also late in London, so I do have a beer. Don't judge
Wonderful.
me. I'm not lunchtime drinking, but I've
today I am. It's okay. This isn't water.
Is it not? Is it just a pint of neatly chilled vodka?
It's water. I just wanted to sound cooler than I am.
No, you're very kind. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. This is lovely.
Of course. No, you've been on my list since I started this just a month or two ago. I've really many ages ago when I started this. You were on my list from the start because selfishly, like, I would love to learn things to be better on camera. And I mean, now that I've been doing video content, very different kind of video content, but like doing YouTube stuff for like a year and a half, it's like I see the challenge and what goes into it, and it's just like, it's amazing. I mean, I record all my stuff where I have to speak. Like, I just record everything in here, and it's like basically voiceover or whatever, and then you're like out in the field doing
driving stuff and trying not to fall over or crash or both.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you're in the elements, you're outdoors, every variable, you've got people waiting on you. Like, it's just so different than
I am very rarely in the elements. I try to keep as much, especially in the winter. You'll notice, like, if it's a particularly wintry shoot, or like, oh, there's snow outside, you'll notice all of it's interior piece to camera, because I have air conditioning and I have a heater, and the camera guys, they can be cold. They made that choice.
I don't even know the terminology, interior piece to camera. I love that.
It's just what I use. So you've got interior piece to camera, exterior piece to camera, voiceover, and that's kind of it. But that I use because I'm by no means sort of professional broadcaster extraordinaire. I've never done telly or anything like that, but it's just stuff I've picked up.
Yeah, well, I mean, the stuff you do looks professional. I mean, we'll get into it a little bit, but I mean, YouTube car content has changed so much, and you've been doing this for like 10 years or something.
It's 10 years next year.
Wow!
From when, so I got my first proper job in 2011 in automotive journalism at a news agency. I'd been sort of freelancing and interning. And then I met this bloke called Drew on a trip because I'd been doing a podcast beforehand, and we'd done sort of little. Remember flip cams? Remember those?
Of course, yeah.
Right, we were doing video stuff on that and banging it on YouTube, and it was just like fun, simple, not difficult. I mean, I might be on the internet somewhere, but yeah, we met this bloke called Drew, and he invited me for a pint. It was the night before I was due to go to the Belgium Motor Show. Oh yes, it was thrilling, and yeah, we had three beers in a pub near the old CBS Interactive office in London, and the pitch was, so what's your job now? Well, I know I do news and I do road tests, and I really want to do video, but we can't really do that at where I am. He went, okay, so if I were to say we want you to make the kind of films about any car you want that you want to make, would that be interesting to you? And I was like, yes, that sounds perfect, thank you, I'll have that job. So yeah, 5 months into my first proper job, I left and then started doing video stuff as a job, which is just ridiculous. Really, yeah, it was a huge break, and it was a huge opportunity that kind of without it I definitely wouldn't have the career I have now. So I am eternally grateful. I'm still massively grateful that they let me play on a freelance basis these days. I left nearly 5 years ago now to go to a job that didn't really pan out, and then went freelance. And yeah, so now it's very much Henry's show, but they still let me pop along and have a play in some stuff and tell some stories, which I just love doing. It's always whenever there's a Carfection shoot on of a month, I'm always a happy boy.
Yeah. So that was originally X-Car you're talking
about. Originally it was X-Car.
was what it was called. And that's when I followed you and XCar, and you really popped up on the radar doing that. But I mean, the stuff seemed professional looking. I mean, you were professional. You're doing it as a job. It is professional. But I mean, that's always so insulting when a person it says that to me.
I know.
This looks professional. It's like, well, it's like my job. I do this.
Oh, did you write that? Yeah, I did write that script. Yeah. No, I completely get it though, because at the time, kind of YouTube video stuff, I remember I talked with Mike Spinelli about this. Like we were in the pre-launch stage of XCar. We were gathering contacts, like meeting every manufacturer, explaining what we were doing, trying to like build momentum behind this thing to get cars in, to do stuff. And like a bit of work had been done before I got there, so they had some irons in fires. And then we were like, right, this is going to be high quality internet video. We've got amazing backing. You know, there's still going to be budget. We can't just, you know, spend all the money, but we've got a great opportunity here. And then we saw the launch trailer for the Drive with YouTube money, and we just went, oh God, really? Oh man. It's like you got Chris Harris doing Chris Harris stuff. You got, was it Leah Parenti had a show about motorsport news, I think it was. Matt Farrow did Tuned. Spinelli was on there. Alex Roy was on there. Like it was all kind of put together by JF, and it's just like, wow. And we were three blokes in an office, kind of going, okay, so if we ring Porsche, they might give us a car, maybe. And then there's Harris doing sideways stuff with the latest one. And we're like, oh man. But you know, we were still figuring out what we were doing, because I kind of vaguely knew how to write a script and vaguely knew how to present. The producer we had, Nick Wilkinson, who I adore working with, you know, he'd always wanted to work with cars and always loved cars, but didn't really know how to shoot them. And I'd kind of been on some shoots, but I didn't know how cameras worked, but I knew kind of get that detail. So in the early days, like a simple film, I think there's one somewhere buried deep in the archives of a Citroen DS5, because we managed to kind of get one of those in. It's a fascinating looking thing, amazing design. I loved it. But that shoot took us, it was a 5 a.m. start, and I got home at like 10 p.m. And that's very early day stuff. And now if we did something like that, we'd rock up at 8 and we'd be done by 3. Wow. Like we were still finding our feet, and we were learning, and there are mistakes in there. You know, there was some, you know, definitely some factual slip ups. I still do those today because I'm only human, and I will freely admit, like, sometimes number might be slightly wrong, or something like that. But some of the rigs we were creating and some of the stuff we were doing, you know, it was, I can't remember where the quote's from. It's like Jason Sudeikis or Ed Helms or something. It's like, oh no, that's the thing. It's the thing from The Office. I haven't watched The American Office. Like, I wish someone would tell you when the good old days were, because those were like the good old days. We were finding our feet and we were figuring out what we were doing, and people seemed to really like it. I mean, there's some stuff I wouldn't do again. You know, there's some like off lines or some like stupid jokes and some like too young to really know what you're doing stuff. But you know, there's some really beautiful stuff in there, and every producer that's been through Carfection or XCar has done well for themselves as a result, which is great, because you end up working with these really hungry, amazingly creative people who care. Yeah. And if they don't care, you kind of find out pretty quickly. And it doesn't really work, and it doesn't really pan out. But no, everyone I've worked with them, both as a staffer, as a freelancer, they've always been just absolutely brilliant. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's a huge privilege, because my job is basically to turn up, say words, and not crash.
That's hard. That's really hard. It's not that hard, because it's like having a conversation with your mate in the passenger seat. That's what you got to view it as. So if you can drive along and have a talk with your best mate about whatever, you can do that, except rather than occasionally glancing there to complete left, you kind of go 45 degrees instead and have a chat at a camera. But the conversation is, in most cases, heavily scripted. Yeah. So you have to remember the words. Yeah, remembering those words, and then still obeying traffic laws and being funny, being charming, and like it's so like, you know, left brain, right brain all at once. It really is like juggling, and I don't know, something else you would do juggling. I can't juggle, so it is like doing two things at once, you know?
It's one of those things where I was never taught how to do it. I watched people do it because I'm sort of that generation. There is a generation of UK automotive journalists who grew up watching Top Gear.
Oh, I mean, I think that's global.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it totally changed how all of us looked at cars and car journalism, and you know, making it fun, and you know, as from the visual aspect, it was just so groundbreaking. Everyone wanted to look like that, you know?
Yeah, like the visuals on that show were incredible. The writing is what got me, because you know, pretty camera stuff, like I get it, but I don't understand it. But actually, you know, you get the stuff that Clarkson and Richard Porter wrote, and you look back on it and you go, how did they fit that much information into 7 minutes?
Yeah,
because like the sheer volume of stuff they put into those films and all the information, it was just staggering to me, and how they could do it, and it would still be funny, and it wouldn't be boring. Like it's just mega. But yeah, this sort of this group of journalists over here, definitely, who kind of grew up wanting to be Jeremy Clarkson. So there's a bunch of interns going in being big and gobby, going into like a quiet a newsroom of a magazine that kind of takes cars very seriously, going, well, I think this and I think that, and they're like, you're 22, go away.
Well, I mean, that's
never had a staff job on a UK magazine. I wonder why.
I mean, that's what we thought. That's what people thought you had to be like to get attention in the field. You know, it's like, oh, like the old journalism was, you know, just so niche, and this was like wide appeal and funny, and people, you know, it was so mainstream, the appeal. It was just so different from any other kind of car journalism, you know, in UK or anywhere.
It was an inspiration thing for me, especially. I watched stuff like that and went, I want to do that because that looks like fun. And I remember the moment I decided I definitely wanted to do that as a job, because I very almost got arrested. I was at university, my first year of university, and I was not enjoying it at all. I hope my mum's not watching this. I think she knows the story already, but still, I wasn't enjoying my degree at all, and I wasn't enjoying being, you know, in a weird, unsafe scenario, which, you know, I've later diagnosed as some quite severe mental health stuff going on. But at least we know now. A mate had come down from Edinburgh to visit me, and he was running late for his train. And I had one of those supercharged Mini Cooper S's at the time, so I just nailed it across Leeds city centre. I was doing very illegal speeds in built-up areas. I was an arsehole. Like I was a proper arsehole. And a policeman pulled us over, unsurprisingly, and went, "Is this your car?" And I went, "Yeah." He went, "Why are you driving it like it's nicked then?" But yeah, it was the scare I needed. Like I thought I wanted to do this big brash car thing, but you can't be that person. And he didn't know. He let me off with a license production, so I had to go and get my license and insurance and present them at a police station, which was, he kind of got that would be enough of a humbling thing to stop that from ever happening again, which it did. Yeah. But then I got back to where I was staying at my kind of apartment at university, and my aunt had got me a subscription to Top Gear magazine, and it came with a DVD. And I watched the DVD. It was clips from the show. It was like, here's some free content, whatever. And I watched it and went, yeah, I want to do that. And that was kind of the moment where it's like, yep, that's a job I need to find out how to do and do it, because a policeman didn't send me to prison. Yeah.
So when you, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just a bit naughty. Worked out in the end. You know, was it good judgment comes from poor judgment, and poor judgment comes from experimentation.
Absolutely, yeah. We were all 22 at some point. You know, you figure it out. When you're producing a video, like, could you just tell us about that process, like from writing the script to filming, and then editing? Memorizing.
For me, that's, so my bit is, you know, in the old days it was, hey, I've got an idea, what do you think? Yeah, go on then. Now it's, hey, I've got an idea, what do you think? Yeah, go on then. So it's, you know, having idea, making car relevant. You know, when it was my full-time job to create films, it was simply fill the tubes, like make stuff, must like keep creating, because we have a schedule and we can't run out of content. If we run out of content, we're in trouble. So it was back then it was like thinking around any kind of problem, which is why none of the films were, well, I tried to avoid doing straight up reviews, because that's what everyone else was doing. And that's what a lot of people, you know, still do. It's okay, we've got this car, what is it like to drive? Whereas for me, there always had to be a story there.
Sure.
And I still, you know, try to do that. So what's the story? How can we make this a bit different? So talking about 911 GTS, for example, okay, where does GTS come from? So, okay, let's go back to Porsche design. Let's go back to 904. Let's look at that. Let's talk about that. Let's explore that. And what does GTS mean now? And how do we make that a thing?
Sure.
I was shooting a car fiction film the other day with a Dino 246. It was mega, and you know that's all about how you know 296 is coming. It's a mid-engine Ferrari V6. All right, where did that come from? You know, I'm not going to get anywhere near a 296 in any time soon, probably ever, knowing me, but where does, like, so what's the story there without the Dino? So it's first mid-engine Ferrari road car, first mid-engine V6 Ferrari. Without that, what would have happened? Like, what's the story there? How does it come to be? All that. So bring all those elements together, then turn that into 800,000-900,000 words. Send that in, get it, make sure it's approved, so it scans and everything works for everybody. You know, leaving out vital bits like driving impressions and say a conclusion of the car, because if you haven't driven it yet, you know, there's so much you can tell the story, but you can't add in the stuff you don't know yet. And then from there, it's kind of sorting out who's going to shoot it, where are we going to shoot it, how are we going to do it. So picking a location. Normally, there's it's just me and a producer, so we're just out in the wilds filming stuff and having fun.
That's good.
Or yeah, it's always good unless it rains or snows or anything like that. And then yeah, so my job is basically to make the producer's job easy. Give them the script long in advance so they have a vague idea of like what to shoot, or can get an idea of what they might want to do with it. Like I don't like having a say in that side of things, partly because I don't understand it, but partly because I view stuff like that as really collaborative. Like it's as much their piece as it is mine. I do the talky bit, they do the look pretty bit. So if I say, oh, you have to get a shot of this detail here and this detail there, like that kind of ruins it, and it takes a load of creative control away from them. You know, again, it's not prescriptive telly where someone's dreaming this up and this will take 6 minutes. It's YouTube, so there's more freedom with it. At least that's how I roll with it. And then afterwards, you know, they take everything away. I come home, do voiceover, and then every now and then I get to see a copy of it before it goes out. Or occasionally I'm told, oh yeah, by the way, that film's live. I'm like, oh, okay.
So you're not really involved in the editing process?
No. Okay. It's that is something like my bit's already laid out and done. Occasionally I get to see it and go, okay, take that line out. But there are people who know how to do the visual side of that way better than I do. And it's kind of, you can see how people go, oh no, but I must have input on that and I must see that and I must do that. But there's far, you know, if you trust the person you're working with, you know, it's not in their best interest to make it look bad. And so why would they? Sorry, there's some noise. For the audience, I live on a main road in London, and there's either crime, because London is where we make crime, or there's big motorbikes and trucks and buses and honking and stuff like that, because London, yay. But no, yeah, for me, it's I love seeing the end product, because I know what's going to be said, but seeing what it is and seeing what they've made of what we got. Because sometimes you get a shoot where everything is perfect. You rock up at 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun's shining, beautiful light all day, it's warm, there's nothing goes wrong, like no battery mishaps, no sound pack mishaps, no nothing, and you end up with everything you want and then some. Or you have a day where it starts off bright and sunny, then it rains, then there's gale force winds, then there's snow, then there's hail, then there's rain again, then it's sunny for 20 minutes, and you end up with a film that looks like it's been kind of spread out over a month and a half, but actually it was made in a day on the side of a mountain in unpredictable Wales.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's as I say, it's a really weird job. Like whenever I get to do it now, like I don't have because I'm freelance, I can't just be like, oh yes, let's do this. So everything has to be kind of a bit more prescribed these days. But it's just really weird whenever you meet someone new and they go, oh, so what do? You have two choices. You can go, well, I'm a writer, and they go, oh, okay, you're a writer, and they either go, writers are weird. And they go, what do you write about? And I go, cars. And then you get this kind of even weirder branch where they go, oh, okay, cars, that must be fun. Yeah, it's great. Okay. Or, oh, tell me what. Or you can go, I make films about supercars. And then they ask so many questions, and all of the answers are like, it's nowhere near as exciting as you think it is unless you're into making stuff. And then it's really fun.
Wow. How many hours of for like say a 9-minute video, like how much are you talking on camera, do you think? Like how many minutes does someone have to edit? Probably
right. Okay. Well, actually, I remember this yesterday. So the Dino film, I'm looking at the script now. So the script is 955 words. And that's without the driving impressions bit we're talking about. So the script's on another screen, so I'm not deliberately like, look at my chin. So without the driving impressions bit. So yeah, so it's 955 words. Half of that you have to memorize, and you do at least 2 or 3 passes of each one. So you have a take that can be glued together if they're all awful. So the talking bit, the in-car talking bit yesterday, because I actually, it was yesterday. Wow. Because I actually did bother to learn my lines a bit in advance, was about 25 minutes.
okay.
And then the exterior bit was about another 10 because you've got different camera setups and it just takes time to faff and move around. As you well know, setting up shots can take ages, making sure everything looks correct and feels right. So yeah, the talking bit, as I say, my job's to make their job easier. And that's, I try to do that. I don't know if anyone's going to drop into my DMs and be like, yeah, you made my job a complete unmitigated nightmare. You're a terrible person to work with and I hate you. You're the person I talk about in bars, about the worst guy in the world.
So they must, so the producer, because there's no one riding with you probably.
When we do the talky bits, yeah, there is.
There is.
It depends on who does what. So I know there's one, I've worked with someone who's just like, we set up the camera, off you go, come back after a couple of goes around, we'll just check the sound's okay, and then if it's okay, just go and come back within half an hour because the camera will kind of eat itself alive. But most of the time there's someone in with me because it's a better way of doing it, because if there is a sound problem, if there's a camera problem, plus you get a better read on like, did that sound right, was that okay, because you can blurt out a thing and make the set trip up in the same place twice but not notice it, and the third take could save a lot of painful editing.
And they're sitting there so they can get a sense of like, okay, we've got what we needed, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not just based on what you thought, how you thought it went.
It's been, I work with, there's a couple of guys when we're doing the driving impressions bit and talking, because you can talk, you talk about the prescribed bits, like what's the steering like, what are the brakes like, what's the acceleration, what's that feel, but then I tend to fire off on tangents and talk about stuff and kind of get caught up in my own imagination, and then I kind of look over and go, is that enough? And then they go, actually, can you explore this point again? Can you actually expand on that? Because that's really interesting, and we can bring an extra thing out of that. So there's kind of creative input from the passenger seat going, no, I can actually work with this. Can you please prattle on about nonsense even more, please? Which, hasn't landed me in trouble yet.
What were you driving today? I saw you posted.
I've had The best week. It's the kind of week that when I started on this strange life, I would never have put together. So Tuesday, I was driving a very wonderfully restored Range Rover in the middle of London, because we've just had this emissions thing put on us, so we can't drive cars of a certain age or emissions regs. Whereas this restoration company has worked out that if a car's over 40 years old, it can have the biggest, smelliest V8 in the world, and it's allowed in for free. So I was driving around the capital in that for a written thing. Yesterday was the Dino, and today was the biggest hire car upgrade you've ever heard of. So the written piece is coming to the drive fairly soon.
Okay.
But in the summer, I was at there's a place in Oxfordshire called Bicester Heritage, and it's sort of this classic car hub. So
I've read that word. I've never heard it pronounced.
Bicester, yeah, Bicester. It's spelt Bicester, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, Bicester Heritage, and it's this classic car hub, and it's incredible because it's an old World War II RAF base, and it's full of businesses that either restore or sell or kind of work around classic cars. So Singer's UK base is there. Okay. And the little car company, if you've seen that, like, they make tiny versions of cool cars. They're based up there, and there's a place that restores, old Speedos and dials, and there's places there's a charity there that gets apprentices into fixing classic cars. But they have these things called the scrambles, because that's what you did in World War II. Scramble the jets. So they have one in April on a Sunday only, then one over a whole weekend in July, I think it is, and they had one a couple of weeks ago. And the one in July, the Bentley brought down a blower, and I know their PR chap very well. I love Mike, he's great. And we were just sort of having a natter about it, and William Birkin's grandson and great grandson appeared in their, I think it was their 3-litre. Okay. And they had the original team car blower there, Bentley's own one, the one that was peeled apart and then scanned for the continuation cars. And Mike just said, "Hop in, we're going for a ride." So I kind of had a ride in this thing, and I was like, "Can I have a go in this?" Like, I said, "Can I have a go in the continuation version?" Because I was like, "This is way too valuable. This is ridiculous." And he was like, "Yeah, we can sort that out." Anyway, kind of things happened, and we finally pinned down today as the day that we were going to do it. So I rocked up to Bicester at I think 10 o'clock-ish, kind of ready and waiting to go for this continuation car. These are £1.5 million. That's what, two and a bit $million. Faithful recreations, a few kind of like a couple of safety mod cons, and it's got an electric fuel pump, so you don't have to pump a thing on the dashboard. And yeah, we were having a chat and with someone else who was there, and he went, "Oh, so what are you two doing?" He's like, "Well, he convinced me to let him drive the team car," and I was like, "What?" I thought the continuation car. He went, "No, we've got the team car." So the £20 million car number 2 of 4 Birkin Le Mans spec Bentley blowers, and he was like, "Yeah, come on, going for a drive."
Oh, that's so cool. That's incredible.
It was like Hertz could not best that high car upgrade. like just the biggest wow. It was terrifying because of how much it's worth. But I went out on public roads and had an experience, which you can read all about.
Yeah,
a little later on. I took some pictures. We didn't have too much time with it because it was also needed elsewhere. So yeah, I took as many pictures as I could, as many details as I could. But it's so big. It's this vast thing covered in details. Like I could do with a day and a studio and a racetrack and everything, and I still wouldn't be done with it. Because it's a fascinating thing because it's one of those cars that's just designed to perform a function, and the function was motor car, but then motor racing car, and then that adds a whole other level of complexity. It's the whole thing is mind blowing. and brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, everyone always says the engineering on those cars from that era. I mean, those people were geniuses because they were reinventing literally every single component.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just spectacular engineering.
It was when cars were frontier technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, you know, cars aren't anymore. Like the electric car hasn't been frontier tech for ages. Like the next kind of frontier tech is Airspeeder, that flying race car series, which is like genuinely fascinating because they're figuring out how to make a drone, but a drone that you can then put a person in. So it's no longer a drone, it's a quadricopter. And then to actually have that person survive and not crash and not have an accident, like make it safe, and then have like 8 of them racing at the same time. Like mind-blowing stuff. That's the next frontier tech. But back then, yeah, it was frontier tech. It's like you have to flick this and flick that and do this and do that and make sure that doesn't do that. Otherwise, that'll go bang, and that's bad. But it's okay if that goes. If there's a pop there, you're okay. It just means you kind of slightly done this too wrong, and it'll be fine. Oh, and when you turn it off, don't worry, there will be a bang because it's just the exhaust letting you know you're all good. And you're like, what? And I got back in my car on the way home and was like, I don't have to worry about the steering. Everything is comfortable. This is nice. I can have air conditioning. I can have it warm as well as cold.
So
this is
nice. Not have been in the Morgan on the way home.
No, I didn't take the Morgan today. The Morgan is all wrapped up for winter.
Okay. Because I've been watching, you know, some of your videos, and I was reading about the CXT. The
CXT.
And
I'm like, machine.
I'm like, I get it now. Like, I want to drive a Morgan now. Like, I'm hooked. You do so much. Like, I hope they recognize you for like making these cars look so cool and be like a young, cool person that has one of these cars that loves it.
I'm you know, I have done stuff for their social media channels, so they know I'm on side. But the reason I say I can do stuff like that, and the reason I talk about it so much, is because it's so weird, but it's so satisfying. It's so I remember it was an early X-Card job. We did I think before I got there, Drew and our producer Nick went up and had a go in a 3-wheeler. And said, oh, that was weird, but that was really good fun. And then we went up and we interviewed Charles Morgan when he was still there about his Aeromax. And he drove it around in the snow, which was just insane because it's a ridiculous car. And then we did a film on the Aero Coupe. And it was when we did the Aero Coupe. No, we had a day in a +8. That was it. Day in a +8. And I was like, I like this. This is silly and I like it. And I get it, and the roof's up and I'm being rained on. Why am I being rained on? Sod it. There's a big V8. This is great. And then we did the Aero Coupe, which was just the most magical thing. And I fell for it properly. Like, it looks like a car built by a 1950s futurist. It sounds incredible. Like, it's not practical at all. The seats it had in it weren't comfortable. It was just a very silly thing. But it was a very silly thing that isn't like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, cut from any cloth that anyone even makes in the 21st century. And that really appealed to me. I like weird hand-built British stuff. And then, yeah, we borrowed a 3-wheeler and we took it to a go-kart track. And I spent 2 days hammering it around a go-kart track. No, it was a day hammering around a go-kart track. And I was like, you know what? This is great. This is really good fun. And, you know, you drive that. So I bought mine, 5.5 years ago.
I've got a picture of it we can put up here.
The silly, well, I've got one too. There we are.
That's a cool shot too. Like, that background is great.
That's a Bista heritage. So
okay.
Bista, they have a big hangar. So that's, I think I put the caption on that on Instagram was, tell me you've been to Bista without telling me you've been to Bista. And that's exactly where I shot the blower today. So if you jump on my Twitter, there's a picture of a Bentley blower with the same background. Because it's like, it's a beautiful background. It's like, kind of sums up what it is. It's a great location. Yeah. But I remember picking it up, and it was a day before my 30th birthday, and I took the long way home. And Morgan's factory is 3.5 hours, 4 hours away from London. It was March. It was cold, but I was excited because I was in a purple car with a face. And there are two ways from the motorway back to my house. There's through Earl's Court, which is quite direct-ish, or you can go through Knightsbridge. And Knightsbridge is the bit of London where all the people turn up in their supercars and rev and make a big show of themselves. Like, it's where Harrods is, it's where like Chanel and Fendi and all like the really posh shops are. So it kind of is this magnet for people who want to show off how much money they've got. So there was me in my little purple car with a face, pitch black, freezing cold. And I may have had a cigarette on the go because I was feeling particularly cool back then. No, it was tab on the go, and there's a bloke in a Ferrari California revving it and lurching forward in traffic and doing all of that. And there's me just going blah 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 blah. Hi. And you just make friends. People take pictures of it everywhere, and it's one of kind of something I don't understand, that people don't like to share their cars. Like there are some people say, oh well, this is my car. No one can. Oh, don't touch that. Don't look at that. Oh no, you can't do this. You can't do that. Whereas I firmly believe they're there to be used. And with that thing, you know, okay, I don't use it in the winter. It goes and lives in a garage and it's nice and, you know, snuggled up and warm, because otherwise it just get rained on and rot. But when I do have it out, you know, people wave, they take pictures, they smile, I park it up and kids are curious about it. And I say, look, jump in, put the kid in the driver's seat. Doesn't matter. Like it's something to be shared because it just makes people happy. Mm-hmm. And I can't get over how happy it makes people, because it's a car, it's a silly car, but people don't hate it. They just love it. You get let out of junctions. I once had one of my favorite kind of things that happened in it. I was driving it from Cambridge to London, and I was on the M25, this big horrible motorway that surrounds London. And I had, you know, the full gear on, I had a shearling coat and I had a flying cap on because it was a bit chilly. And you know when you get that feeling that something's watching you or someone's behind you, all of a sudden I just felt this presence. The motorway was completely empty, and I looked around, and there was a Rolls-Royce Ghost with the full top half of someone leaning out of the passenger side window taking a video of it. I was like, mate, that's not very safe. I wouldn't do that if I were you. It's the most bizarre thing. I love it. I love the fact that they're flawed and they know it. Like, they really know that the cars are flawed. It is a thing you have to get. Like, if you get in it and with 5 minutes you're like, I hate this, you're never going to love them. Like, it's just not going to be a thing you get on with. Whereas if you get in it and go, okay, that looks a bit wobbly and that looks a bit wobbly, but what happens if I do this? Oh, this is excellent fun. Oh, I like this. Then you're set for life, and then it becomes a very dangerous and expensive habit.
Wow. That's awesome. I want to try one. That's like, I've never driven anything like that, you know?
Ah, man. Well, if you're ever in the UK, you are more than welcome to have a go in mine.
All right. I'll look you up for sure.
I'm fairly free and easy with the keys, because if someone's like, oh, I've never tried one of those, like, all right, cool. Have a go, have a play. And then, like, again, it's within 5 seconds, either come back with the biggest grin on your face, or you'll be like, no, it's not for me. And there'll be no judgment. There's no judgment here. You're allowed to be wrong. Everyone is from time to time.
Doug, friend of the show, Doug Saunders, just said that your review of the AMG GTS convinced him to get one.
I am so sorry if anything has gone wrong with it. So I've just seen that.
No, he doesn't have it anymore. I think it was like a lease for a couple of years, and now he doesn't have it, but he loved it.
So, Doug, did you find changing gears a particular pain? Because my last memory of the AMG GT was that whenever I wanted to put it into park or drive, because I'm quite small, I have to sit quite close to the wheel. And so I always had to lean back. I've just noticed there's a full comments thing. Scouting for Zen, hello, how are you? And yes, that is an OG Le Mans Bentley. It raced around so cool. Mulsanne. Yeah, that's natural.
Sean Prinz asked if you saw the Grand Tour lockdown special.
I didn't. I haven't watched it yet. I was over lockdown. I was in this sort of weird mental health bubble of needing to keep working or keep doing something. And when I wasn't, I kind of had this safe space of TV. So I'd only watch stuff that I knew I would make me feel warm and fuzzy. So nothing kind of dramatic, and nothing that could be sad or make me feel a bit upset. and what was it? Yeah, so I basically watched. I got Disney Plus, so all of Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels, and then I rewatched How I Met Your Mother for the millionth time, like all that stuff. Yeah, that's what I did. Really. So I do need to watch it, just because I really hope, and I put this on Twitter at the time. At some point, if it's set around a Scottish loch, and James May doesn't go "oh loch" rather than "oh cock," I'd be so, like, come on, man, come on, like that would have been mega. Someone said, "What's wrong with Belgium?" I can't remember what I said about Belgium, but it's lovely.
Oh, you said the Belgian auto show was not.
Oh, the Belgian auto show. Yeah, it was. That was a weird one. Very strange job. And then I shortly left it, so it's fine.
There you go. So what was your career path? It's totally shifting gears, not with the difficulty of an AMG GTS. Like your career. So after X-Car or during X-Car, you figured out what you were doing, and then what brought you to now? Because now you're freelance, and you've written for, when I searched your name, you've written for every like publication there is.
As one of my friends neatly refers to me as, I'm a prostitute with a pen. So I was at Car Faction for 5 years, and I was offered a kind of too good to be true job, and went, oh yeah, that sounds great. And then it turned out it was too good to be true, and it wasn't good for me and my headspace. So I left. The choice was stay and something bad's going to happen, or leave and see what happens. And yeah, I left, and luckily it kind of turned out okay. I think I let a few people know beforehand what was, not exactly what was going on, but like, I'm going freelance now. Any chance of some work? So I remember Patrick George, now at the Drive, was at Jalopnik. I messaged him saying, I'm going to Geneva and I'm freelance. Do you want anything? And he was like, yeah, can you cover the show for us, please? Like, will this much do? I'm like, yes, thank you, Patrick. Yes, that sounds lovely. Thank you very much. No, but awesome. he was genuinely a godsend, because it was like, okay, I know you, I have faith, go do it.
Patrick is great. He's another Texas person.
I have so much time for that man. He's always supportive and always wonderful. And he said yes straight off the bat, and that was just the best thing. And it was a huge boost. And then from there, it's simply been asking people, can I write for you? Or I've got this is right for you. Sometimes, you do one piece for someone and either they don't get on, or, you don't gel with the publication, and that's cool. The way I do things, I'm not very straight-laced, and I don't really enjoy being straight-laced. There are lots of people who are very good at that, and I'm not one of them. But yeah, so I just asked people stuff. Can I do this? I've got this. Do you want it? And sometimes they say yes. Like it's just, I'm very lucky to have some amazing people who allow me to cock about for a living. Like, I'm very, very, very lucky. I think if I'd have freelance can be really rough. As you know, and as a lot of people over the last 18 months, 2 years have found out. I know a lot of people who had been absolutely smashing it, and then the world changed in the course of 2 weeks. It was, this sounds a bit dodgy, to, oh no, the world's shutting now, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you can't do this, you can't do that. And yeah, I was very, very lucky with clients saying yes to stuff, or going, all right, let's talk about, like, let's dredge up your distant past, and let's rewrite some of this, and let's do this, and let's try this idea, and let's try that. It could have been really rough. And it was a matter of kind of thinking around the problem and hoping it worked out, and luckily it did. So there's the Patrick at the Drive, Rory at Jalopnik, and it's Justin Westbrook. I work with a lot at Jalopnik, and Travis and Chris Perkins at Road and Track. They were kind of saviors, and then Kyle at Kyle again at the drive light was just saying yes to stuff. I was like, oh, this is excellent. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I think it kind of helps that the UK car industry was here and people couldn't get to it. I think was if I'm being brutally honest, but no, I'm honoured that people kept saying yes and continue to do so. I'm a very, very, very lucky boy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I love reading your stuff, and we'll put links to some of the things in the description. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you wrote that's out there, and it's all very cool.
Oh yeah, I bought the laptop I'm talking to you on when I went freelance, and just everything I've written, and every now and then I'm scrolling through a client like, oh, where did I save that thing? I'm like, bloody hellfire, where is this? Hang on. So now, as I say, I've been very lucky. I'm never gonna count my chickens. It's always that kind of, I have that healthy dose of fear that one day someone else will swoop in and be like, well, he's like him, but better and slightly cheaper. So we'll have that guy instead.
I think that fear motivates all of us that do this. Totally sort of switching gears, but from the journalism side, like do you have any frustrations when you work with photographers, when you're out to drive a car and it's like, I've got to drive through this corner for the 35th time. Why can't you just get the shot? You know what I mean? Like, does that kind of thing happen? You don't have to, I'm not asking you to.
No. It's so that I have one producer I used to work with on the videography side, and his nickname was Just One More. Because you do the pass and then over the radio, yeah, can we just get one more, please, mate? Can we just get one more? And you're like, yeah, all right. And then at the end, I'll be like, dude, we've been doing this for an hour and a half. I'm exhausted. Can we not? It's like, yeah, but just one more. Just one more. To be honest, like that's part of the job. I remember kind of talking about attitudes, like a minor gear shift. So in the industry, when I started, there were a lot of guys who had been around for a while and were very set in their ways. And it was like, this is how we do this, and this is how we do that, and this is how we do that. I remember I was on a Bentley launch of all things, and we wanted to get the car early so we could get to the location near the overnight stop, so we could just get as much done that night, and then we could start again early in the morning. And I was sat, this older gentleman was sat on his third plate of buffet lunch or something like that, and he looked up at me. I was like, sorry, can we get the car? And he went, with his mouth still full, oh, I remember doing that. Drive up and down the same stretch of 100 yards or 10 yards of road. What a waste of time that is. And I just remember looking at him thinking, no, that's not how we do this. Like, it's an amazingly self-indulgent career to have, because it's you do it because you want to do it, and you're very like I do well. Personally, I think I'm self-indulgent in that I'm doing this because I want to do this because I think it's fun. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm here. I want to make things. I want to drive the stuff. I want to tell the story. So to then say what a waste of time that is in the process of telling that story and making that thing happen is I don't like that. So if there is like just one more, fine, we can do just one more. If it means the finished product is perfect, then tag me in. I'm perfectly down with that. I've never really had any massive. I think it's one photographer ever who was like, oh yeah, so can I put this massive 10-foot rig off the back of your car on a busy public road? And I was like, no, you cannot. That's really unsafe.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, as I said earlier, my job is to make other people's jobs easier. Say my words, don't crash the car, make sure it's returned in the same shape. Everything's good. Maybe. Yeah. maybe. No, we'll see.
That's a great attitude. I have some lightning round questions.
Lightning round.
I say this so that you don't have to put too much thought or time to it.
Okay.
Your Instagram feed, which I recommend everyone follow, it's A1 Goy. It's the same everywhere, and it's you drive so many cars that like never came to the USA that it's like you're taunting us. You're flaunting it. I'm going through, and so
Sorry.
I'm not like you've driven all the cars. So I'm not asking you what's the best car you've driven. I'm asking which forbidden in America car should I be the most jealous of between the first Elise, the A110, GR Yaris, Lotus Carlton, or the M3 CSL.
Ooh, that's tough. That's really tough. Part of me wants to say Lotus Carlton because it's just so ridiculous, but you guys have the RS6 now, and it's basically the same thing, but
Oh, but I mean, but
less
a car
pointy.
with that kind of turbo from like
Yeah.
1991 or whatever, it's so different. I watched the video on that; it looked like a blast.
Stupid. That particular one, that was the Car and Classic one. Yeah.
Yes.
When I said I didn't know this, I don't kind of remember what I say in driving impression stuff, but when I say I love it, but I also fear it, I was not joking. That thing it was so pointy. Whatever that bloke had done to it, he was like, yeah, so we're going to make this basically more undrivable than the original one. Good luck. But out of those, the S1 Elise is a strong contender because it's really good, but it's not as livable as you want it to be. So Alpine A110, actually, because it does all the Elise stuff, and it has, especially if you give it a little tickle, it can have all the power of the GR Yaris.
A little tickle.
just a little tickle, tiny tickle. And yeah, it's the way it handles, the way it is, like it's just as a driving experience, it's great. The GR Yaris is something that you'd miss out on, but it's the kind of thing I think a lot of people would love to drive and then go, this is too noisy and too boxy and I don't quite understand it. Whereas the Alpine is just a really good car.
Yeah, I've seen them like when I was in Germany, and it's beautiful. It looks amazing.
It took me a while for the looks to grow on me, but it's having spent time with one this year, it's like, yeah, I get this now. Like it's good. Like the GR Yaris is mega, and I get why people really want it, but I would go A110 over GR Yaris.
Okay. So you told me the what is it? Here it is. That the wheels. Oh wait, you drove this, which is cool.
Yeah, that was a good day.
This is such a cool car and a fun photo set.
Those are all courtesy of Nick Dimbleby, who's an amazing photographer. He's just done a book on the Land Rover Camel Trophy.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, he's worth looking up. He's an amazing photographer. Yeah, I had Silverstone Rally School for an afternoon, and they were like, "Yeah, here's the keys. Go do skids."
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, anyone watching this is going to want a Morgan after this. But no, I'm going to these. So these wheels on the 997 Turbo, I said I love them, and you said yes, and everyone else replied to my DMs and was like, "No, I hate those." Everyone I know hates those. So were you just
I can't remember. I can't remember when I said this, but I agree with it. Still, they're good looking wheels. Like those make that car. They make that car.
I don't love the like finish, like that, whatever it's called, where it's like, not that it's polished, but it's like that hard ground. Whatever, flat, but I do love the design. But
no, I love them. They're
interrupting this, I wanted to plug on your Instagram just for a second. I couldn't remember you had a post. You had a post a few months ago, and you said like, I'm trying to get better at my photos. I'm making an effort. I couldn't find that one, but I found a lot of the stuff that I liked, and I found like 3 here. This was one
thanks,
set. Man. This is your V8 Vantage.
That's my sensible car. That's my daily car.
Yes.
That's the one that has a roof and doors. So that's the sensible car.
It's awesome.
This is what happens, kids, when you don't have a wife or a family to say no to such things. You just get like, yeah, I'll take the massive money pit risk. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
And then you had this one, and you had this one, which I loved this glass, like in the lower left, how you've got the glass of reflection there. I thought that was so
thanks,
cool.
Man.
So yeah, and on the right, you've got like the, extremely limited depth of field, just like, it just makes that something like abstract to the picture. It's a really cool way of showing it.
We can thank the 50mm Sigma Art 1.4 f-stop magic lens of joy.
Amazing lens.
I had a Sony, the Sony kind of standard 1.8 50mm that I bought when I bought my A7, and I was playing with that, and I did a studio shoot with the Lotus Emira, and I was just there to see the car. With Dean Smith was shooting it, all the road and track pictures, and he went, "Oh, you shoot Sony, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Try this," and it was the most expensive try this I've ever had.
And he hands it to you, and it's like 1 kilogram, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's so heavy, but it now lives on my camera. So the blower picture that went up on Twitter a couple of hours ago. That was taken, like all of the Dino stuff was taken on that. Like everything, that
awesome.
lens just lives on my camera,
That's
which
awesome.
is a bit naughty, but.
And then you had this with the GR Yaris, which we were just talking about. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I think that was a very dingy railway arch strewn street in Southwark, and it smelt a lot of wee, and there was lots of bird poo everywhere. And it was just post lockdown. The pubs weren't quite open properly yet, but there were enough drunk people on a Wednesday night that it was a bit dicey. And I was like, oh, it's just me and a camera, and I'm going to get eaten to death by angry drunk people. Yeah, the photography thing, it came from an angry email from an editor.
Okay.
So sometimes, with written stuff, I, especially after 5 or 6 years of only really doing video, I had no confidence in my writing. But I realized in order to be a freelancer, I had to get good at it and quickly. So, in the early days, I was like, look, is this okay? What can I do? What can I change? Like, and there were a few like comebacks of, yeah, can you just do this again? Like, yep, fine, happy to do it. But there are some clients who, you get a press car in and they can't afford photography, or they don't have one in the country or whatever. So they're like, can you do us some pictures? So I had a point and shoot. I did a trip just after I left Carfection. I went to Australia for a couple of weeks because I hadn't had a holiday in 6 years. So I was just hammering through work because I wanted to make all the stuff and drive all the cars and do the big tick box, which it turned out wasn't so good for my own headspace, but it's kind of how I wanted to roll. And so I took some okay ones on the point and shoot. And so that was my camera. Like, if someone wants pictures, yeah, we can do that, no problem. Bang a SD card into the side of a laptop, ping them over, jobs are good, and like nothing jazzy. And then I did a shoot with a car around London. I had it for like 2 or 3 hours. Drive it, get a sense of what it is, then take some pictures, send them over. And the response to the email was like, okay, guys, here's the copy, here's the pics. And the response was, okay, words are great, but can we, and in capital letters, please stop with this iPhone bullshit? And I was like, well, it's not an iPhone, it's on a point and shoot. And I'm like, right, okay, I might have to up my game here. So I kind of went into my little hole for a while of shame. And then, yeah, it was a last minute call out to go to the LA Auto Show in 2019. And I was in the airport and I was like, you know what, sod it, I'm going to buy a proper camera. So I bought, just a base A7 because I know loads of people who use them and love them. It wasn't an A7 II or an S or an R or anything. I was like, the base one. It was the cheapest because I didn't have much money, but I knew that this was a good place to start.
Wait, did you say you bought it in an airport?
Yes, I did, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I bought it in duty-free because it was cheap. It was, I tend to do things fairly impulsively. I should probably get that diagnosed as something, but I was like, you know what, sod it, let's just do it, because then I forced my hand. So I covered the show with the camera, took some pictures for sorry, Great as the World. Did not expect Alex's regular speaking voice to sound exactly the same as his presenter voice. Well, when I'm not talking to someone on a video thing, I'm fairly I'm flatter, but I'm trying to be bright and bouncy for you, darling. Yeah, so I covered the show with it, and then the thing that had always foxed me about photography is I have some friends who are not automotive photographers, but the photographers in general, and I always see them being really gatekeepy about it and about how it works. So, like they show that meme of like, oh, everyone, you got a pros camera, oh, it's set to A, oh, that means you're rubbish. And it's like, well, yeah, but if I ask you how to do it, I don't understand it, and you don't give me the time of day to help. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I had to force my own hand. And my plan was, over 2020, step up the game, ask people questions, talk to people. But then the entire world shut. So I couldn't. So there I was with this A7, everything on A, everything set to JPEG, just like using it as best I could. And, there was some decent stuff. There were some things but it was more just for my Instagram, just to learn and experiment. It was the beginning of this year. I put a thing up saying, I want to get better at this. Advice, please. And the overall thing was, get Lightroom, shoot in RAW, figure out the rest as you go on. So every shoot has had to be something new. Mm-hmm. So the Litchfield Yaris in the snow was, everything set to A, nothing to RAW. The M3 CSL was everything set to A, nothing to JPEG. And then it was, what was the first RAW shoot? It was quite early on. It might actually, no. Oh, I took one of a car out. Either way, I like this shoot. Cayman GT4, took it to a car park, all in RAW.
Yeah.
Had a Cayman GT4, let's do this. It was March, like, so the weather was a bit manky, but let's do this. That was all in RAW. And then I put stuff into Lightroom, and there's some pictures from that set that I still really like because it kind of works and you can still tinker with them. Then the next one was, okay, I took a Golf GTI out on a night shoot. Okay, we're going to do night and we're only going to use RAW, but you can still use the kit lens. So I was using kit lens stuff. Then the next shoot was the new M3. And on that, I was only going to take the 50mm that I hadn't used in a year and a half because it was just on a box, in a box on the shelf. And, you know, it presented new challenges and new ways to think around these things. And there's, you know, there's still one picture that I love from that set. It's just the snout poking out of some shadow.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Processed to death. It's like, make the shadows as dark as they can be, please and thank you.
I do that all the time still.
It's like, slide it, thank you. And, you know, getting advice from people saying, oh, try this, try that. Like, this is how I do this, this is how I do that. And then it's just kind of evolved from there. And I'm still trying new stuff. I mean, it's the thing where like developing a style and like seeing bits of other people's work that you like and you want to try and emulate. And then I can get very easily lost in getting everything wrong in Lightroom. But I have a preset that does like 90% of the work. Like, start here, work down. And it's that thing where I've had to get better at it as a necessity for work, but I'm also really enjoying doing it. It's you know, if it's something I can use to make work better and can provide clients with stuff, great. But also, if you know, like yesterday, I had a proper photographer with the Dino, and I just took pictures of it for myself to put up on Instagram to see if people like them, and just to have in the bank of like, yeah, Dino, what do you think? Like it, great. If you don't, yeah. But it's getting over the gatekeeping stuff that I think it stops a lot of people from doing it. So I've worked with photographers who are like Dean, try this lens. Have you tried this? And I've worked with others who are like, well, why are you doing that? Like it's like me like taking pictures and then turfing in a paragraph. It's like, yeah, if you can do that, do it, for goodness sake. Like, take the thing. I never want to be a professional photographer. I will never be as good as you. I'll never be as good as, you know, the Justin Laytons, the Kurt Bradleys, the Ben Wrights, the Dave Shepherds, the Nick Dimblebees, all those guys who have been like, you all just smash it out the park. But it's a matter of if I can like do a passable picture, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, and just to do something and get better and show your growth. I thought it was really cool that you were like, I want to get better. This is where I started and this is where I am now. And I'm pleased
Twitter.
With it.
That was Twitter. It was two GR Yaris's, because I just done, it was the white one in the snow, because I've driven 5 GR Yaris's in the last 12 months, which is, yeah, one every other month is quite a strange ratio. But yeah, I did the white one in January in the snow, and then the red one, that shoot, in July. It was like, this is 6 months. This is what's happened. Like, there's still a way to go, but check it. Because I think there's this kind of risk with creatives on social media trying new things, especially if they're like really new to it. Like for me with taking pictures, I will brazenly go out and go, I like this, I'm proud of this one, or I like this one. And it can be, I think a lot of people can be like, well, what if it's bad, and what if people don't like it?
Yeah,
you know, what if I lose followers, or what if someone thinks worse of me? It's like, Sodom, just do the thing, make the thing, and see what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly the attitude, for sure.
Yeah, cause it's, you know, in the end, it's the internet. It's all pixels and stuff. So you may as well just fill it with as much as you can, and so if most of it hits, then you're all right. You know, so long as you're not. So this place up in the Midlands, Cafe in the Machine. It's one of my favourite places in the whole world. It's a bar it's a country pub where every day's a car show.
It's like, a cool logo.
Yeah,
you know, from the pictures, I like that.
It's ace, right? And they have a mantra there. So you go there, you have to be accepting of everybody. Like, if a car's not your thing, just don't be rude about it. if you don't want to engage, don't want to talk to people, don't. But their mantra is don't be a dick. And it's like, I've kind of adopted that as my thing for life. Don't be that. If someone puts something on the internet you don't like, don't have to talk about it. Just wipe the problem away, but never be scared to share stuff. He says, with a phone full of pictures that are like, oh, that one might not be good enough. Oh, that one might not be good enough. But, you know, ho-hum.
Well, it's not fear. I mean, it's like you set standards for yourself, and it's like, I want to live up to my own standards. So it's not about fear. It's about like, I don't want to put something subpar. I know, like, I'm mature enough or in my skill to know that this isn't up to my level. So I just need to wait till I have something, you know, better. But
there's always that fear of like, it's not good enough yet. Well, when is yet? Like, define yet. Give yourself that start point. If tomorrow's yet is, you know, make sure it's all in focus, fine.
Well, it's always nice to like look back and see the progress and say, like, for me, it's like, I'll look at a picture, you know, from a few years ago, and I'm like, I wouldn't post this now. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not good enough, but at the time it was good, you know, and it's cool to, like, you know, kind of mentally feel that progression.
Well, it's the M3 CSL stuff from earlier in the year. When I took those, I'm really pleased with this. Oh, this is great. Like, I like the way that works. I like the way that worked. And it's like, I look at it now, it's like, I just ran that through VSCO and I thought the framing was nice. Like, that's it. And if I'd have been shooting RAW and if I'd have been doing it in Lightroom, that could have been so much better and it would have been amazing. But, you know, I put it out there. People didn't hate it. The world kept spinning.
Yeah. Well, I think it is time to wrap this up, but it's been amazing. And like I said, the scheduling was all a pain on my end completely.
Wow.
And every email, over every email, you were so nice and enthusiastic and charming. And you always had like a different English term that I've never heard.
Oh, God, let's have a look. Let's have a look through these now. Hang on.
I loved it.
I tend to be quite, because I can't do, in case you hadn't noticed, I can't really do normal.
No, I just loved it. I figured out what you meant from context, but I'm like, I didn't know these were expressions. This is amazing.
No great shakes, no dramas. We're all good.
Yeah. But do you have anything to promote?
So basically, being a prostitute with a pen, I have words everywhere, darling. I would just say, keep watching car stuff and keep enjoying car stuff. If I made it, great. If I didn't, well, good for them, whoever it is that made the stuff you do enjoy. Keep watching Car Fiction because those guys are great. Keep reading everyone, like everywhere from the kind of the straight-laced ends all the way to the tossing around and falling over end. Just enjoy stuff. And if you want to like Instagram pictures, that'd be nice.
That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna promote your Instagram because it's really good. Like, you post a lot of, like I said, forbidden cars that are extremely cool. You're always doing cool stuff, and you have like pictures of yourself. Like, you get a good read on your personality and stuff. So I definitely recommend people follow A1 Goy on Instagram.
That's me.
So I think that is an episode. So we're gonna end it. So thank you everyone for watching and commenting, and thanks for being here.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for commenting. Sorry if I said anything off about Belgium. Just the Belgian Motor Show, man. It's not very good. Belgium's lovely. Brussels is gorgeous. I was there the other week. It's just the Belgian Motor Show. No, not for me.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.